guys, welcome to another video. Today I'm going to be doing something a little bit different, something I haven't done before. I'm going to be ranking my 2021 hikes that I've done here in Washington. My categories are classic, great, okay, average, and meh. For hikes that I don't want to repeat, it will definitely be in the meh category, and I'll have some more comments about that. And these might be few of the top hikes that people come here to visit in Washington. If you're new, maybe you would find some bit of interest in doing these hikes. Without further ado, let's go start ranking our hikes. Okay, so we're gonna get right into it. We're starting with Mount Si. Big Si is about 8 miles and you're trekking up an elevation of about 3,300 feet. It's pretty strenuous, and the ideal season for this hike is April through November. So I've done this hike about 3 times overall. I've done it in the winter time on Thanksgiving Day, I've done it in the summer, and I've done it in the fall. And it's a really good hike to get a lot of exercise in. But that's strictly it. Like if it's a foggy day, you're not gonna get any views at the top. It's pretty monotonous. Every leg is the same. You're going through a pine forest at the beginning and you don't see anything different from there. It's just going up elevation slowly. When you get to the top, it's more rocky terrain, and as soon as people get to the top and they get out of the forest, they usually stop from there and turn around. But if you want to hike a little more up on top to get even a better view, you can do that as well. And on a really clear day, you can see Mount Rainier. So I definitely recommend this hike to do in the summertime. Little Si, I think it's about 4 miles round trip, more or less. And I'll put here on the screen the mileage and the elevation for Little Si. It's more crowded on this hike because it's fairly easier. A lot of novice hikers can definitely do Little Si. They'll get a great view on top. It's you'll see a lot of climbers too go on Little Si, and both Mount Si as well, but I think there is like a boulder garden on the route to Little Si. And I also like Little Si because if you have an older dog, it's a really great hike to bring your dog. In terms of the rating scale, to be completely honest, if I'm gonna do a really long hike and it's gonna be climbing up a bit of an elevation, I would like to see different scenery. That's just my point of view. It's still a good workout, you're still getting outside, great job. So for Big Si, I saw this beautiful picture of Mount Rainier. So worth the climb to see this, but I don't think I'm gonna repeat this hike for a 4th time. I'm gonna give it an okay. The only caveat about Little Si is that it's crowded. But since I live, 8 minutes away from this trailhead, I could start it super early, avoid all the crowds. One point to note is that the parking lot to get here, tons of potholes, so recommend driving very slow there. Little Si, I'm gonna give a great. It's really close to North Bend. It's a really fun hike to see. It's different terrain. You can even see the climbers going up Boulder Garden, which is phenomenal. Definitely good for a quick little trail run as well. You're not gonna be dying going up. Okay, next I'm gonna be focused on the Rattlesnake Ledge hike. Now, this is in a rattlesnake scenic area. I love this area for paddleboarding. There is a hike that you can see on this hump here. They call it Rattlesnake Ledge. I don't believe it's open in the winter. May be able to climb up there. It depends what the conditions are. I haven't really checked it for this season. I haven't been up there. I went up here in the summertime, great summer hike, just as per usual with all hikes. I think it's about 4 miles round trip. Great thing about this hike is the view of the lake. I would say it's definitely crowded because a lot of people come here, they swarm here in the summer. They love to picnic out at Rattlesnake Ledge. It's hard to get parking in the summer as well. And a lot of people do illegal parking in the summer. But this is fun to bike to, and it's fun to get a great workout in. I'm gonna give it an okay. An okay because I like it a little more fun and adventurous, but it's still got a great view. Definitely great to take the dogs on. Twin Falls. Twin Falls is really nice to visit anytime, any season. I actually went there in February and we had fair weather in the 50s and there was some snow underground. I still had such a fabulous time. I took a nice little raincoat, brought my camera, and had a great view of the waterfalls. Twin Falls is absolutely amazing. I actually recorded this hike on a YouTube video back then, which you guys can check out to see for yourself. The great thing that I like about this hike is that it's short and quick. You get a great view of the waterfalls. Who doesn't like a hike with waterfalls? I mean, come on. It was easy. It wasn't treacherous. I didn't think it was too crowded. However, yes, this is still also a popular hike. It's located in Ingalls State Park. I can never say it. If you're just going to the waterfall, it's probably like 2 miles or less round trip. It's not far at all, but most people want to trek on beyond that waterfall to see what else is in that area, and it is a great place to start. Park your car, see the waterfalls, and go on trekking past and see all the other connector trails, which I did post in that video, and for the life of me, I just can't recall all these different trails. I'm gonna give it a great. Next is Mailbox Peak. It's a very popular hike in the North Bend area as well. A lot of people come up here to take this 8-mile treacherous hike. And you reach about a 3,900 elevation to get to the top, have a view of Mount Rainier, enjoy your snacks, and take in the beautiful views. I would definitely say this hike can be a tad bit boring. I know, what hike can be boring? But I don't know, there were tons of switchbacks in this hike, and it just seemed like it was never ending. Same scenery. Switchbacks do help with the slow elevation gain, but there's also a new hiking trail to get to the top even faster. I think you could cut down your mileage, but again, it depends what your aspirations are for hiking. If you're out there to get a good workout, be outdoors, stay out there for a while, take the old route, enjoy the time. If you have some bad knees and just want to take it easy, I definitely recommend taking the new route. I personally have not taken it because I just have to do the whole detailed, thorough length of it to really get the vibe of what this hike feels like. I did look at all trails recently, and some of the hikers said that about a week ago, they did spot a cougar in the area. So that's just one thing to know. Tons of animal life on all these hiking trails. Cougars, bears, elk, so that's just something to be aware of. I did enjoy the top when I got up there, and I felt like it was definitely worth the climb. I don't think I'll be repeating this hike, but I still thought it was overall an okay hike. I'm gonna give it an okay. Next hike is Mount Washington Trail, and as you can see, I don't have any outstanding pictures for this hike because I went on a winter day. Probably the best time to do this hike is anywhere from May through October. I went probably February and March, not the best time. I had to bring some micro spikes. This hike is definitely difficult. It's about a 9-mile hike, and you're going up about 3,300 elevation. It's out and back, and it can take anywhere from 4 to 5 hours or 6 hours depending on what your hiking pace is. I did get lost on this hike. I just wasn't paying attention at the time. I did have all trails, but I was very cold that day. I didn't wear the proper gloves. My gloves weren't warm enough, and I just didn't like the act of taking my hand in and out my pocket to check where I was on the trail. Do not do this, especially if you're hiking in the wintertime. Take out your GPS. I got lost, and I added about 1 or 2 miles to my hike, which made it a very difficult day, and I was getting super hungry. I didn't hydrate enough, and when I got to the top, I did not have a view. I personally did not like this hike. I think Ingalls State Park is a great place to do lots of hikes. You can definitely get lost in here. Some of the hikes aren't well marked, and if you're gonna be hiking the snow, definitely bring a GPS. But because of my mistakes, I'm giving it a meh. I don't want to do this one again, but I'm a bit traumatized from my mistakes. I don't blame the hike, I blame the person. Me. Rookie. Next, Snoqualmie Falls, right here in North Bend and Snoqualmie, Washington. If you're visiting North Bend, please do stop by and visit Snoqualmie Falls. Note, there is paid parking if you're gonna be visiting. If you go on the right side of the street, there's a free parking lot, tons of parking. Don't go under Sunday and Saturday. It is gonna be hard to find a parking spot. I wouldn't really call this one a hike. It's definitely just like a leisurely trail, sightseeing. Apparently you could walk all the way down to the river, 1.4 miles or so out and back, and you can actually go all the way down to the river. But since I've been here, I believe it's been closed. I haven't checked the status recently. It is like seeing Niagara Falls on the West Coast, and this one is definitely breathtaking. I love it. I took my parents on this hike, so if you have any people who can't really go on rocky paths, you could take them to Snoqualmie Falls, and walk for about an hour to do like more of interpretive trails, and it's well marked, you can't get lost, and you can take lots of pictures. It's super crowded. I'm gonna give it an average just because I like more adventurous hikes, but it's still such a beautiful place to visit. You cannot miss this if you're near North Bend, Washington. Next is Blanca Lake. This hike was an absolute marvel. It's in the Wild Sky Wilderness. Now, the hike actually to the lake isn't that long, but it's not easy because you can definitely get lost and you do climb up some elevation. It could be a little bit deserted. I'd recommend using Gaia GPS or AllTrails to make sure you remember how you navigated in and out to the trailhead. I love being in the Wild Sky Wilderness and I would love to go again. I thought this was absolutely gorgeous and I brought my dog with me to keep me company. I went solo on this hike. I love any hikes with snow mountain peaks, glacial waters, breathtaking. I would definitely put this in classic hike. And one of my favorite hikes here, we already know, this is gonna be classic, is Lake Serene. Guys, I absolutely love this hike. This was the first hike here that I was just in awe of the view. Overall, it's about 8.2 miles trip, rated as moderate, and you climb an elevation of about 2,300 feet. You can utilize a series of short switchbacks. They have man-built stairways. You can also take a side trip on this hike to see Rattle Falls, which is about half a mile. So definitely worth the extra mileage to take to see the falls. When you finally get to the lake, you can see Mount Index towering over and mirroring on the lake. It was absolutely gorgeous. I actually took a dip and had a little cold plunge when I was there because I loved it so much. I can't even explain. I believe you do need a Northwest Forest Pass. So that's just something to note, which you can actually get in the neighborhood in the Skykomish Ranger District. I think there's a small little coffee shop that opens around 6 a.m. The owner of the coffee shop was nice enough to give me a day pass before she even opened up her shop. Very friendly area. Go early. I was the first one to get down there because I left at around 5:30 on a Saturday, and it was very crowded on my way back going to the parking lot but headed towards Lake Serene. I had no crowds. I passed about 4 people and I was just on my own, and that's why I took the cold plunge. No one was there to watch me perform my embarrassing act. So I'm gonna give this a classic hike. I would definitely do this again, and I would take a dog or a friend, but you feel like you're out in the wilderness and it's adventurous, definitely recommend. The next hike that we have is Mount Ellinor. We're taking it south to the Olympic Peninsula. Best season for this hike is July through October, just like most hikes here in Washington. And it's a very short hike. It's about 6.6 miles. You can actually knock off about 800 feet of elevation on this hike by taking a shorter trailhead. I didn't do that. On the way back, I missed my turn and took the shorter route, so I added that mileage onto my hike. And why shave off extra mileage when the whole point is to explore the mountain, not find the quickest way to the top, am I right? So this hike starts off in an forest grove. Douglas fir, old growth hemlock. It's absolutely gorgeous, and I was able to start off in complete solitude. This forest is a lot different from the ones here in North Bend. It's just absolutely beautiful. The temperature was so nice, cool and crisp air. As soon as you get out of the forest grove, you are approaching a rocky, jagged cliff that could be quite a tricky scramble, but thanks to volunteers and trailblazers, I believe they're called, the volunteers with the Mount Ross Trail Crew, they carved a path into the mountain face so that going up and trekking up this tricky scramble is definitely manageable. I've not tried this in the colder months. It could be a slippery situation, but it's definitely secure. I felt safe. It's very crowded for sure, but definitely take your time going up. You definitely feel it. It is quite a climb, and I have some footage of this hike, but as soon as you get to the top, oh my gosh, breathtaking. Breathtaking. You see Puget Sound, you see Lake Cushman. Puget Sound and Hood Canal are laid out, and you can see the jagged mountains of the Olympics. I would most likely do this hike again. Take a friend, take a dog. Highly recommend. I'm gonna rate it as a classic hike. Why not? We have to get an Olympic hike in here. You guys, I might be rating all my hikes up in classic hikes, it goes to show you that as long as you're getting outside, you are doing it right. Next, we are going to the North Cascades by the Ross Lake National Recreation Area. Sourdough Mountain. Sourdough Mountain is definitely a strenuous hike. It is actually one of the most difficult hikes, one of the difficult hikes of the Cascades, and I would say this hike gives you absolutely no break. No break whatsoever. Within the first 3 miles, you're climbing up elevation of 3,000. It's very steep. I would say after 3 miles, it does ease a little bit in elevation grade, but it's still hard to bear. But as soon as you are within visual of the lookout, there's a historic lookout on top, and you get views of 3 beautiful snow-topped mountain peaks: Ruby Mountain, Pyramid Peak, and Colonial Peak. And I took a friend. Dogs aren't allowed on this hike, by the way. But this is one of the most strenuous hikes I've done this summer, just because of how quickly and how steep the elevation gain was so early on in the hike. So I recommend, if you're going to do this hike and you're doing it in summertime, take lots of water. There is a stream where you can filter water, so if you don't want to carry a big backpack of water, you have the option to filter your water as well. You have places to filter water. Just be cognizant of your hydration on this hike. It is not easy, even for experienced hikers. I took an experienced hiker with me, and we were trekking at the same pace. So, but it's totally worth it when you get to the top and you can see the beautiful turquoise colors of Diablo Lake, which is, to me, the gem of this entire hike. When we got to the historic lookout on top, it was not open to the public, but it was still a great place to take a picture and just be at awe that you're in the North Cascades. A lot of people don't make it up to the top, so definitely recommend doing this one in the summertime. Just be mindful of the water intake. I'm gonna go rate this as a great hike. Okay, next is Diablo Lake Hike, which is also in the Ross recreational area. And I would say this hike, although it was nice that I could bring my dog, it was about 7.5 miles in length. And before you get to the Ross Dam, you think some people have a pass or have access to actually drive across the dam and shave off about 2 miles, 1 or 2 miles off the hike. But if not, you're adding that 2 miles. So I had a 9-mile day and it was really hot. So I had to be mindful, just like Sourdough Mountain, the water intake for my dog and myself. I didn't have a filter at the time because, you know, getting your trail legs. But I would say this hike didn't have the most spectacular views as other hikes in the area. And when you get to the end of the trail, you're still immersed in vegetation. You're in forest. You really can't see any visual picture. Like, you can't really get a good view of the dam. If it's really crowded, you're not going to have anywhere to sit. You're sitting on a slope and the trail just ends. So I did like it for the different type of vegetation along the trail, and it was a really nice day, and I did enjoy walking over Ross Lake with my dog, but I didn't really get a good view. And so because of that, I'm definitely rating this as a meh, because I like to hike a lot of mileage and at least be treated with a nice view at the end. It's actually a picture from Sourdough Mountain. Next is Three Forks River. This is a beautiful hike, great for novice hikers, or if you want to bring your family. I brought both my parents on this hike, and even though I had to be mindful of where they stepped, they were doing well with trekking poles and they absolutely loved it. You're going over a nice little footbridge in the beginning, and it's not super rocky. There's lots of alpine forest throughout this trail, and I think it's about 8 miles. It's very easy. Again, I like things to be a little bit more adventurous. I would still come here to take occasional walks to bring friends, new hikers, people who are still like getting their feet wet and hiking for the first time. So I'm gonna give it an okay, just because the views are so pretty, but it's not super adventurous, and I don't know, something about like hiking to a mountaintop really makes it all worthwhile to me. Either it's a glacial lake, it's a beautiful mountain peak, and I don't get lost, and it seems to be rated higher on my list. Next is Enchantment. Classic hike. I didn't win a lottery ticket to stay in any of the lake campsites, but I was very determined to do this entire hike and see it all and maximize as much time on a trail I could. So I did the full 21 miles. I would definitely say this is one of the most beautiful hikes that I've ever been on, because of all the different lakes throughout the hike. The mountain peak at the beginning, I saw a lot of mountain goats. They were actually on the path with me. I just couldn't believe it. I overpacked for this hike, so if you're gonna be through hiking, to pack light, bring a filtration system. I definitely brought a filtration system, but I'm very skeptical and paranoid of filtering water. Even with my filter, I just feel like I'm gonna be that percentage that still contracts either Giardia or something on the water source, and I didn't want to risk it, especially since I was solo hiking. I didn't have anybody with me, but I started this hike around 4:30 in the morning in the pitch black dark, and I went on a Saturday when it was crowded, but you know, again, it's such a long hike that you're not going to see that many people. You're going to have a lot of moments of solitude, and you're definitely going to have enough time during the day to settle down, relax, and take in the scenery of each of these lakes. You guys, if you ever visit Washington, add Lake Enchantment to your list. Even if you don't get the chance to through hike the entire thing, you can start at either hike to Kolchak Lake or go on the opposite side of the trailhead, but get there early because you're not going to get a parking spot. The parking lots fill up very quick and people end up parking off the side of the road. So get there the night before, get there in the AM, and I think you might be lucky. Yeah, you definitely have to see Kolchak Lake and hike up Asgard. Asgard was very spectacular to be on top of. Might see wildlife, and if not, you're gonna see beautiful glacial lakes. Worthwhile classic hike. Next is Lake Ingalls. You climb an elevation of about 2,600 feet. It's about 9.2 miles round trip. Rated as difficult, definitely manageable hike, even for people who are not experienced but enjoy a moderate hike. I didn't think it was too bad. I think the best time to hike this is during the summer. The season starts from July through October. One thing to note about this hike is that it is a very fragile alpine environment, so dogs are prohibited and you're not allowed to take more than a group of 12. So when you're on this hike, definitely stay on the hiking path, don't go off trail. There's a lot of mountain goats. They're prolific on this trail. I actually saw little goat babies. I don't know, what are goat babies called? Calf or? I don't know. I saw lots of mountain goats on this trail. So the trail starts by steadily ascending switchbacks through an open forest, and apparently the hike is said to have an old mining history. You get views of the metals once you get out of the forest, and you get views into the Esmeralda Basin. Once you climb to the top and you're scrambling slightly across some jagged cliffs, nothing super treacherous, but it definitely gives me sort of a southwest vibe. It reminds me a little bit of Utah when I'm out there. You can see Mount Stewart right across from Lake Ingalls, rippling over the placid waters of this beautiful lake. Great lake to just plop down and have a little picnic and take some great pictures. If I had to go back to this hike, I would definitely stay overnight. It was absolutely beautiful. People are hiking there all times of day. Definitely rate this as a classic hike. I would love to go here again. A worthwhile hike to see in Washington. The next and final hike on my list is Pratt Lake Trail, which is another stunning hike. It's about 12 to 13 mile hike out and back, rated as strenuous, and it's located near Snoqualmie Pass. You actually will have to take the same initial route that you're going to Granite Mountain. Granite Mountain flanks right. You can continue on straight and you'll end up by the Pratt Lake Trail. I thought this was a very well-maintained hike. I went on a summer evening and it took me a few hours, but I saw absolutely no souls on this hike. I saw lots of mushrooms, I saw some toads, a lot of different small little tiny insects and worms and snails and so forth. I definitely took the time to take in all the nature and plants on this hike. I have no issues with this hike. I thought it was gorgeous. The mosquitoes were sort of a pest on the trail, but I mean, you deal with some sort of insect annoyance on any trail if you think about it. I thought it was stunning, and I like little things they built for the trail here to make it more manageable. It was well maintained and it had a stunning view of Pratt that lake. I went during the evening time on summer. I sort of had that sunset picture. It was really nice. I would say the only thing is kind of secluded, so take a friend and just be mindful because it could be a little bit isolated. Overall, beautiful hike. Easy to get to, not far from North Bend. I would rate this as great. Well, that's it for today's video. I enjoyed making this list and it really got me inspired to take more adventures and do more hikes out here in Washington. If you guys want to see any more hikes on this channel or ideas of places to go near North Bend, definitely stick with me. Hit that subscribe button and don't forget to get outside and do something for you. Have a great time, guys, and happy 2022.